I want to talk about what Harris said on a recent podcast about her possibility of running for president again in 2028. She was talking to Sherrick McMahon, and while talking to her, the question was asked, would you run again? And she said essentially maybe, leaving the possibility open that she might run for president again. Considering that she was given roughly 100 days to prepare a campaign after having it thrown on her in a pretty historic manner with a very short time period to introduce herself to the electorate, but quite a large war chest, which will probably be one of the biggest points against her running again, is the fact that she did have quite a lot of resources at her disposal to run the campaign, and decided to run on a message of like middling reform while still tied to the Biden administration, which did not work. But maybe a fresh coat of paint, a fresh campaign, a fresh slogan, maybe a few new priorities, and more than 100 days to introduce her to the general electorate, and a primary where she can test her mettle against other Democrats. Maybe it'll go differently. Well, let's listen to her.
Okay.
Will you run again?
I haven't decided.
You're still thinking about it?
I might.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying. That's what I closed the book and I'm like, oh, she wants to. She's just thinking about it. If that was my impression. I don't know if that's what you intended, but that was my impression.
No, the book is about a specific period in time. There was no agenda beyond what we've discussed already, which is just sharing with people, the reality of the experience, and hopefully allowing people to see something of. Okay.
Will you run again?
Okay. I'm going to come out straight up, be very direct. I do not think Kamala Harris should be our nominee for the Democratic Party in 2028. If she wants to run with the Greens, if she wants to run Libertarian, PSL maybe, I don't know. But I do not think that she should be the nominee for the Democratic Party in 2028. Let me keep this as short and sweet as possible, because I know that there are people who are sympathetic to her case. Number one, yes, she did not get a typical campaign. And is that particularly fair to her? No. How much fairness to her matters when it comes to the fate of the entire country? Basically, not at all. I think when it comes to some of the minuscule details of party politics, fairness can matter. But when it comes to winning such an important election, 2024 was an important election. 2028 will be an equally, if not more so, important election. And so I do not think fairness to her getting a fair shot is a good reason for her to run again. If you want to say, since she didn't have 100 days, more than like 100 days to deliver her message to the public, to go from being the backbenching VP when it comes to the public's image and what they were getting served up from the media, to explain what she's about, explain her values, explain her backstory, characterize her, that she didn't have enough time to do that. And if you were to give her more time, maybe she would do better. That's fine. I don't care about fairness to her or it being her turn. It's no one's turn. It's no one's turn. That's not how democracy works. Democracy doesn't work on a system of it's this person's turn or that person's turn. It was not Hillary's turn and it was not Harris's turn. And if it was their turn, they lost anyway. And it shows that the whole system of turns would be silly. So putting that aside, if she was to run with now more time, could she do better? Maybe, but there's a lot of things that gives me pause and makes me want to go with somebody else first. Number one, when she did have the opportunity to run a campaign for 100 days, what we saw was an offer of middling reform. Compared to Trump, obviously, I think that's better than what Trump was offering. But compared to the problems that people were facing, the problem of affordability that Americans were facing on the daily basis, paired with her offering of middling reform, paired with pride in an economic status of the country that, yes, general economic growth, GDP growth is something you could have pointed to. I mean, Biden's last year of GDP growth is better than Trump's GDP growth right now. That's something that they could point to. But the Dow going up and food being more affordable are two different things. And so she needed to offer a bolder vision that separated herself from Biden. Now, because she didn't do that, she is tied to Biden, and she will always be tied to Biden. In that election, she was always going to be tied to Biden. But the fact that she did not separate herself from that election, we've got the 2020 election cycle for her being his VP tied to Biden, and you've got the 2024 election now, where she was her own campaign, but still tied to Biden. If she runs in 2028, she's going to be the one that has to answer for all of the failures of the Biden presidency from 2020 to 2024, whether it be on not delivering enough on Ukraine, or whether it be losing to Trump in the first place. And that's going to be a big weight on her shoulders, is the fact that Hillary lost to Trump, she lost to Trump. Do we really want to run the two people who lost to Trump, either of them, going into another election? Either of them. If somebody has shown that they can lose to the man, is that somebody we should be running against him? I would say probably not. I think with whether it's Trump or the people around him or Trumpism, one and done should probably be the scenario. If somebody shows an inability to win, it might be that the deck wasn't in their favor, the cards weren't put out correctly, but we can't take the risk that it was just them. We can't. I mean, that the middling reform was not an offer that did well. She was not able to define herself well enough in those 100 days that communicated a humanizing vision that got the American people signed on to her when she is running against one of the most greedy businessmen to ever exist in American politics. No, the most greedy businessman to exist in American politics. Donald Trump went from saying, I don't want to take a paycheck while I'm president, to suing the IRS for $10 billion of taxpayer money to directly be deposited into his bank account for something that isn't even the IRS's fault, but the fault of a private financial institution that got Trump's tax returns out there. The same tax returns that he said he would share, but now that they have been shared, he says he needs to be given $10 billion by American taxpayers because they were shared. This is something where your authenticity should be able to shine and sparkle in comparison to Trump, but it didn't. The personality didn't click. The middling reform didn't click. The lack of distance from Biden didn't click. So none of these things ended up clicking for Harris, and she had a gigantic war chest. And I think this is the biggest count against her, is it's not even necessarily Harris, it's the people around Harris. It's the people who advise her. It's the people who create her political strategy. It's the political consultant class around her that guided her to that titanic election that we saw in 2024, when those motherfuckers went down when that iceberg hit the ship. And we need to trust those people again. How do you I mean, look, when they did their ad spending campaign in Pennsylvania, they went in there, they spent millions upon millions of dollars to try to get Harris's name out there, and the polls didn't move at all. If you have that much money to throw around, and you throw it around and it makes no impact, and you just keep chugging along, you just keep spinning out your bike, your bike chain, as if you're in a pedal bike in your apartment, not a actual bike on a trail, that's not a good strategy. That's not good that they just did that. And I don't trust those people to do it again. I don't. So it's not just a question about not trusting Harris or like what would happen if she actually became president. I don't think she'd be the worst president ever. I'm not particularly impressed by her foreign policy credentials, even though I think her advisors are, of course, better than Trump's. I'm not particularly even impressed with a lot of her particular record. But I don't think she would have been that terrible. But I don't trust the people that ran her campaign to do the same thing. Is she going to fire them all? I don't think she will. I don't think she will. I think she'd end up keeping the vast majority of the people who led us to failure in 2024. And it's going to be behind a candidate who led us to failure in 2024. Whether or not she gets 200 days, 300 days, or 400 days to do it, instead of the 100 days she had to do it last time, maybe that'll become a major factor that changes the result. Maybe it won't. But should we take the risk? You know, an election is a complex machine. And if we already know that, you know, this part of the machine has not worked before, we could try it again. But if we do try it again and find out it was the main component in the machine here, it's going to be a little late. We can't switch out another candidate in the last second. The Democratic Party cannot debase itself that much. We have to run somebody different than Harris, okay? Look, let me name all of the candidates that I think would be better than Harris. And I say this not to endorse them all, but just to say that I think that they would be better than Harris. Number 1, J.B. Pritzker. Number 2, Mark Kelly. Number 3, Chris Van Hollen. Number 4, Sherrod Brown. Yes, the one who lost the election in Ohio. That one. Number 5, Wes Moore even. You know, governor of Maryland. Number 6, God damn, I mean, we could throw out there John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock. God, who else? Hell, I mean, I might even be quicker to run old Bernie again with a little bit of black magic to keep him alive for the whole term before I would say, let's run Harris again. Let's actually run Kamala Harris for another time. We can get the governor of Kentucky. There are an endless amount of Democrats that would do better than Harris, many of them with flaws. Mark Kelly is not going to be beloved by the parts of the Democratic Party who are not too happy with Israel. J.B. Pritzker is not going to be, people are not going to like J.B. Pritzker for being a billionaire running against somebody who is, you know, extravagantly wealthy and you could critique for the wealth disparity. Like, none of these candidates are particularly perfect. Some of them I like better than others. Like, I mean, I would probably have Chris Van Hollen before I would choose Kathy Hochul or whatever. But all of them, I genuinely think have a better chance of winning than Harris. And for that reason, and that reason alone, any of them, from A.B. Klobuchar to Mark Kelly to Chris Van Hollen to, I mean, literally doing a weekend at Bernie's in real life, all of those would be better than running Harris again. And it isn't a dig at Harris. That's just the stakes are too high to let your personal attachment to any individual politician guide you to say, oh, I'll give her a chance again. No, she got a chance. She missed. Next person in line, take a shot. I mean, do we really think running Hillary in 2020 would have been a smart idea after 2016? No. I mean, 2016? No, I don't think so. And Hillary at least had enough clarity to know that it was a bad idea and didn't.